What is up, Sneeples? We are back at it again doing a way too early tier list. This time I am joined by our reigning U.S. national champion here, Mr. Charles Dunn.
Hey guys, Editor Gabe here. The audio file on this was corrupted. I did my best to salvage it. I did salvage it. We have a full video. It's going to be epic. But just want to let you know there's going to be some points where it's a little high on the audio. It's a little low. Nothing unbearable for sure. As well as we did lose the introduction, so I apologize for that. But we got the rest of the video working, and it's a great video. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching.
There's no rules when it comes to this. We could go left to right, but if there's a hero you just want to grab onto, just say, let's talk this hero. But we'll start with Arachne here. I'll take the lead, and then we'll kind of go back and forth here. But Arachne, they were seeing a little bit of love, when the format was slowing down. But I think the format's going to kind of speed up, and I'm a little bit worried for Arachne, and I think Arachne is going to be at the C tier. I don't even know if Arachne got any new pieces really. Like, he kind of needs contract, so. Yeah, but Codex of Frailty, one of the strongest cards in the game, so you still have that card.
Sure does, yeah.
Okay. All right, next up, Azalea. Where do you think Azalea is going to end up lying?
I know some people have talked about her up in S tier. I don't think she's going to reach that point, but I think she's a solid A tier. I could never see going below that. I think she just has so much power. I mean, the aforementioned Codex of Frailty is great, but just like Ranger cards in general are just really strong. We've seen a lot of people have pretty good success with her at high-level tournaments, and even though she didn't really get anything in this set, I don't think she's like poorly positioned into anybody from the new set, that is. I think she has like the tools to compete, so I would be shocked to see her any lower than A tier, really.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think Azalea is, Enigma kind of scares me if I'm playing Azalea, but Enigma also might scare the Guardians away, so that also might be a good thing.
Yeah. The Enigma matchup it's weird, right? Like Azalea is actually pretty good at like popping ward, right? Because if you dominate, like it's probably gonna pop the ward.
Yep.
But then, like, you might not get your on hits.
Right.
And then Azalea will struggle to clear out Spectra auras. So there's some push and pull there, but I'm not like, oh, it's a slam dunk favored for Enigma. So I think that's what gives her a lot of legs, like ways to play around it, for sure.
Totally agree. I also would have her at A tier. I think that's, kind of where she was, and I think she'll just stay there. I think she'll be fine. Okay. Next up is Betsy, and I think Betsy might be our first F tier hero.
Yeah, I mean, so my teammate and friend Naib took Betsy to a good showing at the Battle Hard in San Francisco.
Yes.
A few weeks back. I even after seeing that, I don't understand the logic for Betsy over Bravo. Like, take almost the same list, right? Take out the Betsy specs,
right?
And put in like Bravo cards, and like I think the deck's just better. I still stand by that. So like, yeah. There's just a strictly better option. I don't know why you'd play Betsy.
I 100% agree. We do a Talishar tier list ranking, which, take with that whatever you want. But, she's never got out of F tier on that. I don't think, hey, congrats to, your friend there, Naib, like, because, like, yeah. I don't know if anyone else could do it. So I think...
Naib is definitely one known for taking some off the wall decks and doing well with them.
Yeah.
So big props to them.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, well, let's get into the better Guardian.
Sure.
Bravo. You're kind of a more, not necessarily connected to a hero, but more of a play style, I would say. So, but Bravo's been in your arsenal. Where would you see the big man?
So after the new set, I think B tier is the highest I would ever put him. Okay. I do think he's going to struggle into all three of the new heroes. And I keep saying the word new because, like, he's really going to struggle into new. And so it remains to see how the meta really shakes out. But even before this set, he wasn't in the greatest of shapes. And I think, like, low B is, like, I'm biased, and I'm putting him at low B. So
right.
Take with that how you will.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty fair. I don't know if I could put him on C myself. It just feels like Bravo's always kind of just in that B rank. Like he's just always lingering. So I don't know. I kind of want to keep him at B, but I do like the low B. I do think that's right. I do think it's gonna be a little bit of a downshift for Guardians, at least at first, right? And I think so. Instead of being like mid B, I would say he got a little downshifted to low B. All right, moving on. We have the OG dash IE. You know, I she's kind of been in like A, low A, high B. I think if I don't know if there's anything that I'm like really worried about. Maybe new, but I mean, like, I kind of think she can just stick in A and be fine.
Yeah, I was thinking low A, high B, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Like I don't know, Dash. I was never like a Dash fan. She just has, vanilla numbers and they're good numbers, but I don't know. I was never a huge proponent of Dash, and into the new meta, I do think, if people are playing more Illusionist, then like, hey, she's got extraction points and can pop like Spectra auras, or like can clear
Right.
out boards more efficiently. Has like awkward breakpoints with the 2 power pistol. So I think she has tools to compete, and like if new steals her blues, like doesn't really matter, right? Like, okay, you can 0 for 60, me for 2. Great.
Right. Yeah, it's just underrate.
Yeah, it's underrate if you're not boosting, which obviously you can't as new. So yeah, I think she's fine. I don't think she's gonna be a meta breaker in any way. It's like it's good old reliable Dash.
Yeah, I think
you
that's
knew her
fair.
before, you know her now.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. All right, well, this one's the spicy dash IO here. We've seen Tyler Horsepool, he was able to get something going with her, but past that, she's
Yeah.
kind of been on the fringe ever since Australia. So, what do you think of Dash IO?
I think like conceptually her numbers look really good, but then like it never really pans out. She stumbles, has some awkward turns. Like I don't know. The ceiling on her is really high, but just lack of results and lack of new cards. I can't really put her above C. I don't think. Right? She
I
just hasn't
yeah.
done anything.
No, I 100% with you. Like, yeah, like if you're Tyler and you put a ton of hours on, all right, sure, I could see you like high B, low A, but I think on average, yeah, I like her in C. I'd put her over Arachne, but yeah, I would just have her at
Yeah.
C.
She
Yeah,
does have a good power, and like there's a reason to play her over Dash, Inventor Extraordinaire. But I don't know that it's going to be consistently better.
yeah, I think consistency is kind of the thing with this dash. It's like this is the consistent dash for sure, as far as just like play style and like piloting. This one's the one that has those high swings, I would say. All right, it is my turn to lead, but I kind of want you to lead with this one as you have played Dory in several different ways. So I'm kind of curious what
Yeah,
you think of Dory going into this meta.
I like Dory a lot, and like going into Pro Tour LA, I thought she was like definitely S tier, and then the
Sure.
hatchets build, and then people started, adapting, learning about hatchets, realizing like what's going on, and I think she's definitely moved down since then, as
Mm-hmm.
people adapt. But I think she's still a solid A tier deck,
Okay.
maybe like lower in the A tier, definitely like below Azalea, I think.
Okay.
Um,
I think
she
I'm okay with that.
she's fine, but like I think that kind of strategy of just like grind out the value with the hatchets, which I think is the best way of playing
Sure,
Dory right
definitely.
now, is it's good, but it's I think it will struggle into some of the more like linear focused decks, like could struggle into Enigma, could struggle into like Ninja, which might make a resurgence,
True.
and other decks that like just go like don't care about your value, just have a huge turn, or do other ways of capitalizing on the game.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is a good spot with her. I think that's some pretty good analysis there. The only thing I could think that could help her out with this new set is again, it really depends on the sets of this next hero, Enigma.
Hmm.
If Enigma just takes out Guardian. I mean, I don't even know. Was Guardian even like a terrible matchup for her?
It depends. Like for if you're playing the Hatchets version, I think like with proper play and good deck building, like you were actually kind of favored into a lot of
Right.
Guardians.
Yeah.
But like it was tough. Like you had to play right, and like the Guardians could high roll you. Right, if you stumble, they could CNC pummel you and just get enough value. But I was generally okay if you told me I'd sit down and play like Victor 5 rounds in a row. I'd be like, yeah, that's fine.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel like she was hurt or she gained anything. So I think yeah, keeping her here. I think that's right. Okay. I'll lead with this one. I have a bit of a hot take.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of an illusionist hater, so take this with a
Okay.
huge grain of salt. But I kind of think that I don't think Enigma's going to be bad by any sense. I actually think she'll be good, but I do think she'll be pushed at the beginning, and I think she'll be like in a lot of people's A and S tier. I think this is my hot take. She's going to settle on a B plus tier.
Okay.
That's my
Yeah.
take on Enigma.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because a lot of people have been, it's still way too early. Everyone's way too early.
Yeah.
But I've heard the hot takes that you're referring to, right? Everyone's like, yeah, it's like Enigma is like the best deck of the format, or like, one of the big two. And
Hmm.
I'm kind of with you. Like, I think she's overhyped. I really do. I've tried out some builds. I've watched some people play games, and like, I don't know, color me unimpressed, man. Like, she's like, "Ooh, here's a ward aura," and I'm like, "Okay, attack." And she's like, "Oh, I can't block," and then it gets popped, and like,
Right.
then
Yeah.
she does nothing. Right?
Like I think people remember Old Prism, and Old Prism, what a hell of a deck. That's an S tier deck.
Oh yeah.
Um, but she's only half of Old Prism. Old Prism had the Herald half, right? So she didn't need the auras. Where I think Enigma does need the auras, and like Enigma going into Azalea, sure, okay, but like Hatchet, Dory, I could see even be troublesome. Dash, I could see be troublesome.
Hmm.
So I think she will have good matchups, but I think she might have actually more like 50-50s and below than she'll have over 50%.
Yeah, and if we're specifically focusing in on like U.S. nationals, which you and I obviously are, if you're
Definitely.
from the U.S. U.S. nationals comes first, right? It's the first nationals of the season,
Right.
and between now and then, there's not going to really be too many competitive tournaments. Certainly nothing at the level of a calling or higher.
Hmm.
And so the U.S. nationals will be really the first time that like these decks get put on full display, and I'm just not convinced that people are going to be able to come up with like a really optimized version of Enigma that like is able to fully utilize her to their best of the ability. Like, Prism, for instance, had been out, or the new Prism
Right.
had been out for quite a while, and it took people just a while to get used to her, to solve it, and to understand the
Very
lines, and,
true.
and how to play it. And I think it'll be the same thing. Like, maybe if your nationals is like way later in the season, like somebody will break Enigma and you can copy their deck and figure it all out by then.
Right.
But for US nationals, I am skeptical that she's gonna break the format.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. And honestly, this is kind of for US nationals. Like this
Yeah.
is like that is what everyone's going to be looking for. So, yeah, I think yeah, we're on it. Okay. Coming in with 5. Where do you think the ninja did not get a spoiler like a lot of people thought he would?
Yeah. I'm a little disappointed in that, right? We got Dromai card
Show
and
my
a 5
spoiler.
card. It's all right. So you get the hot take on Enigma. I will go and put F for 5.
Oh boy.
F tier.
I'm gonna put him
Yeah,
above
like
Betsy though.
you probably will probably go above it, and that's fine. Overall, but we got to give some hot takes here. I don't
Yeah.
know. I've wanted Fi to be decent, and like even though I'm known for playing fatigue styles, I have played Fi at several tier 4 tournaments, like Pro Tour Lille and Worlds of that year, whatever that was. I played Fi, and like I liked it. I thought it was a good deck. It's basically the same deck today that it was back then.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
gained like 1 or 2 cards. Like, yeah, maybe you play Tenacity, and that's a good upgrade. And but like conceptually, there's not much difference. In fact, it just lost Belittle
Right.
since then, and it hasn't gained too much support. And so the game, in my opinion, has just passed him by. He's good, but he just isn't better than a lot of other things that are in the game nowadays.
Yeah, yeah, poor Fi. Like, here's the deal. This is what I like about your take here is that 5 players won't argue with you, I don't think. Like, most 5 players I talk to have him down here and aren't happy about it, but they recognize that, yeah, he's just not the play right now. Um, I, yeah, I think that, he could give trouble to uh, Enigma. But like when you
Yeah.
look at these heroes, like you're not out racing Dash. I think Dory can just be consistent versus and like blocks very well, and then Azalea, can just disrupt you. So it's like if you can't beat one of the A tier heroes, and even if you struggle into some of the B tier heroes, then yeah, it's gonna affect you here. I think
Yeah.
so.
I think that, I don't want to discount the fact that hey, Fi did win world championships last year,
I That's so true though.
which it was a very different meta, right? We had Icelander and Dromai, things
Yeah,
were very skewed compared to now.
definitely.
But I don't I maybe it's a little bit disingenuous to be like, oh, he's trash tier, F tier, but like realistically, I would be shocked if there was a Fi in top 8 or top 16. Like I'd be shocked if there was a Fi in top 32 at US Nationals. I really would be, and so I can't in good conscience make any kind of recommendation for him.
All right, let me ask you this: would you ever? Because I've wondered about this myself. Would you ever play like a Ninja Turtle Fi?
I haven't heard it like a reference like that, but I know exactly what you mean, and I can't believe it hasn't been called that. We always call it internally on my team we called it fatigue.
Oh, nice. That's pretty
Instead
good
of a
too.
team deck, it's a fatigue deck. Um, yes, I can't say no that I wouldn't. There, I guess when I was going on my rant about it just a moment ago, it was the Siri Number Blade kind of go wide
Definitely,
and trying to
definitely.
Tiger Stripe Shuko into Phoenix Flame into Lava Burst kind of play.
Yep.
Um, that one is like, hey, that's the same as been for like 2 years. Nothing's been improved on since. The fatigue version is more like, you try to play efficient hands. You've got good blocking.
Now it's like
Maybe you threaten
Dory.
like, yeah, yeah. I mean, you can threaten Mask of Momentum, which is pretty cool, right? With like
Uh-huh.
Kadachi into an attack. And if a deck doesn't want to block you, and then you just get to draw a free card.
Yeah.
I think there's something there. And like, I won't lie, I started building this fatigue slash Ninja Turtle deck
Oh
a few
yeah.
days ago. And then I looked at as I was trying to build it, I thought, man, I really need to know like what I'm targeting here. Like what decks am I trying to beat, right? If you're trying to beat go wide decks, you need more like small D reacts like Flick Flax and that all you got and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or if it's a lot like big dominate kind of things, you need more unmovables or something.
Definitely.
Or
Yeah.
if it's like more ninja, you need more go agains and more or sorry, if it's more illusionist, you need more go agains and attacks to pop there to pressure them.
Yep.
And I just didn't know what I'd be up against, and so like I couldn't even start building it to like conceptually think about that. And I'm
Yeah, that
worried that
makes
in
sense.
undefined meta, I won't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's fair. But who knows? I
Hey,
mean, he did
stranger
win
things have
worlds.
happened. He does have some raw power, and if if you're playing aggro fi and you just draw hot,
Hey, go for
maybe it
it.
could be your.
All right, moving on to another hero that loves to draw hot. Mr.
I'm gonna let you go
Kano.
with this one. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, gosh, I just started playing Kano, like probably about a month ago, or a little over a month ago, and I've been sucked in, Charles.
You're in too deep.
I'm in too deep, man. I'm a wizard main, and I'm starting to think like, well, maybe it's not so bad with Enigma. Like maybe we could still get there and whatnot. I'm gonna be reasonable though. I'm not gonna say Kano's A tier. I'm gonna say Kano is B tier. And I'll even put him below Enigma. I do think, actually, even like for Nats, he might even be C tier just because this
Mm,
isn't a settled format. So honestly, just like with that five problem, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going against. I can only hope that my pitch stack can like just be good enough. But then
yeah.
like, yeah, is that going to be good against like Enigma? Hell no. Is that going to be good against New? That's a big question mark. And can Zin just outrace me? Oh yeah, probably. And he has blues, so yeah. I'm gonna put him C plus. I don't want to put
Uh,
anyone above him. He's gonna be our C plus guy. That would be my little bit of love towards Kano, but it seems hard for him right now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I did, at the AGE event last weekend, I did ask you like, how does it feel like Kano's getting banned next set, right? Because
Right.
Enigma's coming out, and Enigma just seems so good against Kano with all the ward, and I guess part of it depends on how popular does Enigma turn out to be. We were
Definitely.
kind of lower on Enigma than I think most people, but even if she's not that great, that doesn't matter if a bunch of people still play her.
Exactly.
And you know, I would hate to be like, I'm gonna spend a ton of time prepping this deck. I'm gonna like learn it inside and out, and then I go up against this person who's playing his second ever, competitive tournament of Flesh and Blood, and they play a bad Enigma deck, and they just spam out all these ward, and you just lose, and you lose your
Right.
tournament, right?
Yep.
I
That's
don't want
pretty
to play
real.
the gem roulette, man. I don't want to do it.
That and Kano, let me tell you, he spins that gym roulette quite often. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. I think C plus will keep. I think that's a reasonable one. I kind of want to put him at B, but I think I'm gonna let my reasonable side of the brain just put him here at C.
Sure.
Okay, let's move on to the other warrior. So recently, Dorinthia has all like the tournament success, I would say. But Kasai seems to be the more popular warrior as of now, just from Talshar numbers, really, and like local data, basically. What do you think of Kasai?
I think like Kasai is actually just very similar to Hatchet's Drinthia in terms of like overall power level and just place in the meta. So like I personally would put them kind of right next to each other.
Sure.
Maybe give a slight edge to Kasai, honestly.
Okay.
Just because I think once people know how to block out against hatchets, it gets a lot worse. And like
Sure.
Kasai doesn't really care. She can like set up a bigger combo. And so I think Kasai just has a slight edge against the whole field. But I think they're overall very similar decks.
Yeah.
And Kasai does have some tournament success. I think you're selling her a bit short. She did win a calling at the Pro Tour. I know like callings at the Pro Tours are a little bit like, well, all the good players are still playing in the Pro Tour, but it still did win.
It's still a win. It's still a win.
Yeah, it's still a win. I don't want to discount that in any way, but it just didn't get quite as much hype as the Pro Tour, obviously.
No.
So I think Kasai is a perfectly reasonable deck. If you told me, hey, I'm gonna lock in Kasai, I'd have I wouldn't like try to stop you. Right? If you're a Kasai main and that's what you want to play at Nats, like go for it. It seems like a reasonable pick.
No, for sure. I'm with you there. Yeah, I think she being up here is fine. Because I agree. I think she is very comparable to Dory. And if Dory's going to be fine, Kasai's going to be fine. It's just a matter of like which one do you prefer, what play style. They're kind of similar, but they are a little bit different. So yeah, I think that's right. I think that's good. All right, moving on to Katsu, one of the classic ninjas here. I don't know if Katsu really got anything unless you're like trying to do kitty cat Katsu. I'm kind of I don't see Katsu as an A tier, but that might just be because of how the meta was. We'll have to see where we put Victor. I think that's going to kind of determine where I want Katsu, but I'm kind of cool doing B plus for Katsu.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I'm in a similar boat, B plus, A minus, like somewhere in that borderline. I'm fine with B plus here. I think he has a lot of potential, and we saw some like really good players at some like bigger tournaments, like come with Katsu, and you saw like crazy turns and combo lines that did triple bonds or something crazy. So there's definitely potential there, and I'm sure they'll find, Katsu players will find like one or two little upgrades in this set, because there are just generic ninja cards.
Right.
But you're right, he didn't get as much support as Zen, obviously, who got, the full set.
Yeah.
But I guess, maybe a spoiler looking ahead, I think Victor has moved down after this set compared to what he used to be, so that maybe that means Katsu can rise up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe Katsu makes it A minus, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it. I think he's got a lot of potential, and especially if a lot of people do end up playing Enigma, I think threatening Kadachi's is pretty strong against that strategy.
Oh yeah. All right. So next up, KO. I kind of have a hot take with KO, but I'll let you lead here.
I mean, I can't say anything other than S tier.
Okay, cool. We're both on it.
Yeah. No, KO was like the undisputed best deck of the previous format. I can't take any good faith arguments against that. He won the most pro quests. It was very clear that he was the strongest, and then he got a few new upgrades in the
Did he got upgrades? Yeah.
Yeah, and then he got upgrades. He got better, and he was already like just he wasn't like heads and shoulders above the rest, but he was the best deck. And then he got two new cards that helped him out.
Oh yeah.
So I even though he got basically nothing in this set, it doesn't matter. The raw power is just there, and I think you're doing poor preparation if you like brew up a deck and the first question isn't how does it play into KO.
Right.
That should just be like question number 1, and then you should move on to anything else afterwards.
I think that's very accurate. Yeah, I think KO like true strength isn't necessarily his deck or his ability. Although, like we said, he did get upgrades, so it kind of is now a little bit. But I think his true strength is his meta spread. I think just overall, like you could still beat Azalea. Like you can still beat the. I mean, the Warriors are going to beat the tough ones, but it wouldn't be all that surprising if a really good KO player beat a really good Kasai player. It just happens sometimes. And it's not like a 70-30 by any means. But yeah, and then like when we look at some of the new heroes, I don't think KO is too troubled by any of them unless Zen just the only one I can think is Zen that could, maybe give KO some trouble but that's if Zen comes out the gate hot. And I don't personally think that's gonna happen. So I totally am cool with keeping KO at the S tier here.
At the very least, he is kind of like the bar, right? He is like you must be this tall to ride in the format. And if you don't have at least a respectable KO matchup, it doesn't need to be great, but you need to like be able to play a game against him and feel okay about it in order for your deck to be reasonable, I think.
Definitely. All right, moving on to another brute here. I was kind of a Leviah hater, mostly because I was a KO lover. But Leviah got a new card, and I actually think that card's pretty sick. So I kind of want to put Leviah in the A tier, maybe even like over Dash. How do you feel?
Oh, if I was being spicy, I was gonna put Leviah in S tier.
Oh, okay. We'll put it right here at the very least.
Put it higher, sure.
Yeah.
So to explain that, I played some test games last night against Leviah.
Okay.
And let me tell you, Shadow Realm Horror is absurd. There was multiple times where my opponent was playing Leviah was just able to go like blue pitch, Shadow Realm Horror, attack you for 7, go again, and then off the banish, play a 1 for 7 out of there. Like a Graveling Growl.
Right.
Or like a yellow Graveling Growl and 1 for 6, or something. And I'm like, you just played a 2-card 13 on me. Like
Dude,
that happened
insane.
a lot. I mean, sometimes it was just a 2 for 7 go again.
Yeah.
Which is still really good.
That's fine, right? Like that's totally fine.
Dread Screamer, and it has this upside of sometimes it'll draw you a free card.
Oh, man.
And not just any card, like a 6-power attack. So I was very impressed with it, but I will give the caveat if I'm putting it in S tier that you must be someone like Ethan Van Sant or some Leviah main who knows the deck inside and out to get the results.
That's
if
fair.
If you're not practiced on it, you're gonna lose with it.
She doesn't just win.
KO just wins.
Yeah, KO actually just wins. Like she needs
work for the wins with Leviah.
Yeah. So if we're Mansant, if we're like Casanova, if we're like known Leviah players, we're up here. Otherwise, we're right here. Is that fair? Okay.
Yeah. Let's leave her in A tier because she doesn't have that success, but partially that's because Ethan mainly is on coverage.
Fair enough.
I fully believe if he was playing in a lot of these tournaments, he would win a lot more.
All right. That's a good shout out for him. Hell yeah. All right. Well, cool. Yeah. No, I haven't seen the new card in action. This is all theory crafting on my end. But yeah, from what you're saying, I mean, if it's working that consistently, this seems fine.
Seems very strong, yeah.
Okay. All right, Max. Max actually did get some new stuff as well. I don't know. Where do you see this mechanologist guy?
I've never seen this mechanologist.
That's
Who
fair.
Is this guy?
Yeah,
I haven't read him. He's the draft hero, right? Yeah. I mean, jokes. I really don't know how to place him because he just hasn't.
He doesn't show up a lot
ever.
Yeah, no, that's pretty fair. I think there's a reason for that, so we'll keep him at C tier.
Definitely until proven otherwise, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. He could be the new Phi. He could win Worlds.
He might surprise us, and I was gonna say he might surprise us, and I wouldn't be surprised, but that's kind of. But if he does have a breakout, somebody figures out. I think Mechanologist got the most new cards out of the expansion slot. Not that they're all not that they're all good cards for Max, but if somebody does come up with a build and Max is like a respectable meta player, I'd be like, okay, that's a bit surprising, but like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like Dash, just it has a little bit of a higher output. If you know you're at that full, what is it called? The high. If you make the mech suit,
Yeah, and then
then
high octane, the
yeah,
you know, kind of comboing that together. He does have like some big high roll potential,
definitely.
but high rolling has clearly not worked out in any major tournaments so far. So I don't know if that's going to change here.
Definitely. All right, on to our second new hero. That is new herself. Uh, I think she's probably the best out of the new ones. It's hard for me to just put someone at A without seeing anything, but like I really wouldn't be surprised if she is something like the new KO where she's the first hero to really get results. And so because I think she will get results, I'm kind of in an A minus. Like I feel good here.
Sure. Yeah, I'm fine with this. I think new her cards definitely read very powerful,
They
right?
do.
You read the cards and you're like, man, this and that and like it like her blue attacks just have so much text on them.
They
And then
do.
you're into like reactions and you're like, holy crap, this reaction is like it does so many things.
A 0 for 5? That's insane.
Yeah, 0 for 5, or just like, oh, give this plus damage and then give my next attack go again, or give this attack go again.
Right.
And then they
Yeah.
got to play around like, flick knives messing up your blocks or whatever. And then she kind of has this combo kill element where you can use the hero power with chi, and if you banish enough blues, you can kind of like attack with one of their blues, get it go again because you've got the mist blade.
Yeah,
Like,
because you got the dagger.
yeah, so like she has a ton of potential. I think just like Enigma, it's gonna take time for people to really find that optimal build.
Mm-hmm.
But like she definitely has the raw tools
Yeah.
to do powerful things, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of scared of her to play against her.
That's totally fair. I feel like DRX are going to be, just about every deck runs about 3 sinks.
Hmm.
You might need to add some fates into it now. If New's going to be very relevant in the meta, I think, having 2 to 3 fates might just be something that you just need to have in your list somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she will be around. So, yeah, A tier, A tier. Okay. This is the real reason why I wanted to do this video with you, because we were fanboying on this card before our
On
matchup.
Olympia. Yeah.
Yep. We both are digging the new card, the Anvil. Yeah. So it's your turn to lead, which is perfect. I didn't plan this, but it just happened this way.
Sure,
Where do
sure.
you put Olympia?
Ooh. I think, Olympia in the new set, he's been so bad, and the Great Axe builds haven't made too much of a splash, but I think this
Mhm.
new card is quite strong. I'm gonna put him like high B tier. I think he's better than I would put him higher than Katsu maybe.
I would agree with
Um,
that. Yeah.
yeah, like I think he still needs to be proven out, but like I think Great Axe strategies have had like, some mild success given its play rate at events.
Yeah.
And this is a powerful tool for him, and I'm very curious to see where it goes. And I'll tell you what, like I'm going to be testing Great Axe Olympia. That's a
Oh
given.
yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I've been doing more tests with this hero than any of the other heroes.
Yeah.
Um, I am stoked for Olympia. I think we see this where he was here in the last meta. Now he's
Definitely.
all the way up here. Possibly even A tier. I think that's really cool that one card can just do that. Um, and yeah, like the one matchup that scares me is Enigma. That one's just so hard. But yeah, like we're talking about all these attack reacts. Well, if you just block with armor all the time and you're fine with your armor getting shredded, it's whatever. I'll get a new piece of armor, not a problem. Yeah, maybe Olympia can play into some new, and then obviously you're gonna have to beat all these other heroes, and I don't think there's a terrible matchup. I'm a little bit worried about these guys, but like these, I feel pretty fine into. So I don't know. I really like Olympia. I think I will allow them to be a B tier because I think my unreasonable self would be like, oh yeah, he's A. He's definitely
Yeah,
A.
I think I think maybe once U.S. Nationals rolls around, and if we see Olympia pop up, I'll be like, yep, definitely an A-tier hero. But
Oh yeah.
maybe until we prove it,
Until we prove it.
it's a little tough.
Definitely,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, the card really does help out a lot of those problem matchups. Lets you block out better against decks that do like one big turn, like the brutes, because you can just block all your armor, and then like, okay, then they take a setup turn. Okay, I'll just buy all my armor back.
Yeah.
And now you're ready to counter their next big turn. So that helps a ton. It really can't be overstated how important that card is to that kind of strategy.
Oh yeah. No, for sure, for sure. Glad he got one. Glad he got one. Okay, moving on to Prism. In my eyes, the best illusionist in this current meta. I think this is something like Leviah. I think a very good Prism player is gonna be like high A. Maybe even on the S tier. I think a very good Prism player can do that. I think Prism. I don't know if like she's really. I don't know. As I'm not, like I said, I'm an illusionist hater, so I'm not playing Prism. So I don't know how her Enigma matchup is, and that's the one that I would be the biggest question mark. But new, I would imagine she feels fairly fine into. Zen, she was already pretty good in Katsu, I think. So I don't think she has to worry too much about Zen. And all these other heroes, like she's rocking it until she gets to these brutes, right? That's where she's feeling some disarray. So I don't know. I kind of want to put her like A minus. Or A tier is getting pretty high, so that
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, man, the A tier is really blowing out, and I think that just speaks to like how many just like good, reasonable tournament decks there are.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm kind of with you there, right? It's like low A,
High B.
high B for
Sure.
players who like are reasonably good at it,
Put
but
her
then
high
some of
B.
the best players will see better success. She does have a lot of raw power, and like, I think honestly, like in terms of representation and raw power, I think she's gonna be higher than maybe Dash or maybe New, depends on how if anybody breaks the format with New or not.
Right.
Um, she's definitely a consideration, and I think a lot of times when I build decks, I'm like, okay, well, what is my game plan into Prism? And that's not something that I necessarily think about, like, oh, what is my game plan into Hatchet Story? What's my game plan into Dash?
True.
Like,
True.
it just happens. Whereas like Prism does require like a dedicated, like, you have to think about this matchup ahead of time, otherwise you're definitely gonna lose to it.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to put it. I mean, that makes total sense. Like when you look at a card, you're like, oh, it's a popper, and the only reason why you say that is right now is because it's really a prism. Like Enigma
Yeah.
doesn't even have Phantasm for the most part. I'm
Not
sure.
much. She has
Yeah,
like
not
one or
much.
she might
Yeah,
run a few, but yeah, very few.
yeah. So it's kind of interesting. That's a good way to put it. Okay, moving on to, is this our last brew? I think this is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our what do we
It's
think of Reinar?
it's a similar theme to what we've seen on some of the low C and F tier heroes. Like I think
Yeah.
it like he's a mid C tier hero. Like
Yeah.
somebody could show up with Reinar and do okay, but that'll just be off the power of Blood Rush Bellows and not off the power of like Reinar's better than KO in any way. I just think Reinar is worse than KO.
Yeah.
And anybody who's considering playing Reinar, I would say, how about you play one Mandible Claw instead? And I think they would have more success.
I totally agree. Like, yes, intimidate's a very cool thing, but so it's just kind of just a might token and just doing things. Just winning is kind of cool too. So I think I like this at C. You'd have to convince me hard just to even put him any tier higher. I don't even ever see him at A. Unfortunately, I think he's cool, but just not there. All right, Riptide. Riptide got a new piece of. Well, I guess he also kind of got a new piece of equipment, but he got a new specialization. I think he was gonna be okay if no new heroes came out. I think maybe you can give a B minus tier and he'd be fine. But I think with Enigma coming out, that's gonna really, really hurt Riptide. I don't even know like how often his traps will even work against Enigma. Sure, Noob he'll be fine against, but then Zen, I'm not sure. And then on top of that, like I don't think he's gonna be okay to face these brute heroes necessarily. So I see Riptide, unfortunately, going back to C tier.
All right, so like I think I was kind of with you on the first part, right? Where it's like, hey, he's on the up and up. And then you're right, like the new heroes came out, and I was like, well, then look at new flashy heroes. And
Yeah.
Riptide just hasn't seen that level of success. So there are some people who really just love Riptide, um, and played it over and over again and had maybe some level of success with it, but maybe not at the bigger tournaments. Um, so I don't know how to really evaluate Riptide. Like there's no stock standard list of Riptide out there to test with.
There's so many different lists too on top of it all. So there's not even like
Yeah.
a tried and true type thing. You just have to like go off like, oh well, the trap riptide's like here, but they're all kind of still in the C tier, right? So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, at least definitely in terms of results, I think there's something there just because of like, yeah, it's. I guess I'm thinking about like into Enigma specifically,
Right.
right? He's got traps that like, yes, historically illusionists are hard, but he does have traps that are like that trigger when their attack is greater than their base, and Enigma puts +1 counters on things.
That's a
And
good
he has
point.
traps that trigger on Go Again, and if they have a +1,
Yeah,
then
have
they
go
have Go
again.
Again.
Okay,
And
okay.
so like you're like, okay, well maybe this can work. And Riptide, if you build him more aggressively and a little bit less on traps, right? You can use the reload, you can shoot, the efficient ranger arrows.
Yep.
I mean probably worse than Azalea, but like not, better than nothing.
Right.
That could be reasonable. I can see an argument, but I'd have to be convinced because he really doesn't have that kind of history or that kind of results yet.
There is that arrow, Merkmeyer grapnel, that
Yeah,
says
yeah.
like, yeah. So I don't know, maybe I don't know. Riptide mains, y'all prove it to us. y'all show us what it is.
Yeah, maybe I'm like, I'm part of the problem here, like feeding the false hope to the Riptide fans. But like, I think he might have more hope than some of our heroes that are below him here.
That's fair. Okay, Bolton. Our light warrior. We saw a Bolton deck. Have some success with. We've seen it with the Raiden. We've seen it with the hatchets, even. But now we've even seen it with the Decimator Great Axe. So there's all sorts
Yeah,
of Bolton
yeah.
decks out there. Where do you think our light warrior stands?
I think he's actually like A tier. I think he
Oh,
benefits from this set quite a bit.
okay. Tell me.
Um, yeah, so like the Raiden or Saber's version can be pretty aggressive, and doesn't have any blues. So like that's actually a good combo
True.
into New and Enigma, right?
Yeah, good point.
He's got good power turns if you give him time to set up. So like if you're a warrior like Hatchet Story that's just trying to grind value, he can set up a big like Lumina turn or
Hmm.
block out and set up a Saber's like triple Lumina combo. And then obviously we did see some success with the Great Axe build, and that's I think is a little underexplored for a lot of players.
Yeah.
And he has potential there. So like
Oh,
I think there's some stuff to do there. I wouldn't be surprised to see some Boltons show up in national season.
okay. All right. That's encouraging. I like Bolton.
Yeah.
I okay. So I'm kind of curious. So if he was to be an A tier, would you just put him with the other warriors, or where would you put him here?
Yeah, I think I'd put him below the other two warriors, but
Okay, so
probably
something like
above.
right here.
Yeah, yeah, right there is I think was where I would put him.
Okay.
I think he's like a force. Like if you want to play Bolton, I think you can have good game plans and you can do well. I don't know that like I'm gonna go into it being like, oh, what is my plan to Bolton? Let me figure out like the optimal sideboarding strat into everything. Like I don't think he's that gonna be that big of a percentage of the metagame.
Definitely.
But I think if you pick him and you practice him, you can do quite well.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's definitely fair to say. He is kind of one of those heroes that's a little bit of a dark horse just because he can just, yeah, people aren't prepping for Bolton necessarily. And at this point, you won't even know what build you're facing. So
Yeah, I have no idea.
he has that going for him. But yeah, sometimes he could just do it, which is pretty cool. He does have that combo. I do think that helps into, like you said, some of the more mid-rangey heroes. Even could help get over the Guardians out there. And yeah, like we've been talking, which we're getting close to, Victor. We do think that might take a little bit of a drop, so that might actually help Bolton out. It looks to be very warrior friendly this meta.
Well, yeah, I think it is, but I think if you look at like the percentage of people who play warrior is going to be like similar to the percentage of people who play like brute or guardian. It's just that they're spread out over so many heroes.
Okay. Okay.
So maybe it's inflating it, but it's like, okay, this is like, what's your game plan into warrior? It's like, well, it's kind of a similar,
Yeah.
you know, similar style, similar idea across all three decks. It's not exactly the same, obviously, but you have some similar concepts there that I think, you know, it makes it look more diverse, I think, than it really is. If you just think about like, okay, warrior is here.
Definitely. I'm gonna do something a little spicy here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna break up the warriors. I'm gonna put new right here. I'm just gonna.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic about new and Enigma and the new heroes. So I am down for moving up in the tier list.
All right, perfect. Okay, Tekla Vossen. To me, it's a very similar story as Riptide. You know, was starting to gain some ground, and now I think I don't know if I want to play Tekla Vossen against Enigma or New. Like maybe Zen's okay, but I don't like the new heroes. I don't like the new meta. I kind of am in the C tier with him.
It does seem rough for Tekla Vossen. I think I'm dropping him to somewhere in C tier.
I'll give him right there. That's kind of how I feel. Yeah, I'll give it to Dash.
I think he has some level of potential. We've seen some people play it, but it's been unimpressive. And you know, if somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to play Tekla Vossen," I'll be like, "Come on, no.
Yeah.
Let's not. Maybe let's try something else first.
Play Olympia."
Yeah, play something else before that.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. Next hero, Uzuri. Uzuri's got quite a bit from this set, as there was a lot of assassin cards with stealth. Yeah. Where do we see Uzuri?
I mean, so Uzuri has a bit more of a track record than, obviously, she's been up for a while. People have experimented with her, and she has some solid tools. I think I've never been super impressed with Uzuri. I've never really played her myself. It never really appealed to me. But like, I think she's a solid B tier hero.
I agree with that.
I don't know if she's like super high B. I wouldn't put her, you know, really above Prism. Definitely not above Prism.
Yeah, I don't think above Prism.
I think she's fine, and maybe got better in the new set because the stealth cards are, you know, give her some value. And I'd like to see where Uzuri goes from here, but like, I don't think her ceiling is as high as new, but she should be fine.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, I think she has technically gotten new cards, but I don't know how good they are for Uzuri. It makes sense for new. I think they work very well for new. But Uzuri is more of the switch than so much as just coming out with the stealth card. So, yeah, I don't know. I agree with you in B. I'm just kind of this part's actually kind of the hardest part. Like, I kind of like Katsu over her. I kind of like Enigma over her. But then like seeing her this low kind of feels bad. Oh.
Yeah, I guess if you ask me like who's gonna get the most national top 8s, I think Katsu and Enigma are getting way more than Uzuri.
That's very fair. Yeah, I think so she probably lives right here. She is like Bolton, she's kind of a dark horse, where, you know, you could see her just take some, but I think that's kind of the B tier as well. That kind of describes B tier, so.
Yeah.
Okay, Victor, our guardian. You know, definitely is the guardian to play if you're gonna play guardian.
Yeah.
I think Victor, his results with Talishar was S tier.
For sure.
Yeah. I think so like Talishar, local armories, you know, RT and PQs, he probably was definitely S tier. I think major tournament wise, he was definitely like high A tier. I think he's still an A tier. I do think he takes a bit of a knockdown. I don't think he's like right here anymore. Because I do think Enigma is going to be pushed, but Victor players are telling me it's still fine. But you know, that might be a little bit of copium. I'm not sure.
yeah, and maybe it's like, you know, the Victor lists are, I'd say, pretty well optimized. It's not particularly hard to build Victor, right? I mean, you play the good Clash cards, and then you play the good Guardian attacks, right? And
Yeah,
you got
right.
yourself a pretty good deck.
Definitely.
Enigma is a bit of an enigma on how to build. So I wouldn't put too much stock and be like, oh yeah, I can beat Enigma. It's like, well, everyone can beat Enigma right now. Wait till
Right.
she gets optimized and found out.
Yeah.
But I do agree. Like from the PQ season last season, I would say he was like, like below KO, but he was still like an S tier thing. Nowadays, his new card, his Visit Goldmane Estate,
That's a pretty good
is
card.
quite powerful. And I
Right.
think you could do some, people talk about playing like the Crown of Dominion to make yourself royal, get a gold to kind of get that train going. I think it's it's worth exploring for sure, and I think that gives him some avenues. But at the same time, I think he struggled into KO a bit, and the KO only seemed to get stronger.
Yeah.
And if new is going to be the most popular new hero that we think, I'm scared to play a Guardian when she can attack me with all my good Guardian cards.
That's definitely true. Yeah. Yeah,
So
no,
I think
100% true.
I think he's in about the right spot. He does have tons of raw power. I'm not gonna put him below A tier,
Yeah.
but he's not the fringe S high A tier that I think he was before.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I his new card is good. But yeah, I think his matchups just like that the meta that we previously were on before this meta. It was one of the most perfect metas he could have asked for, I think.
Yeah.
Despite like without KO, he would have been S tier all the way, but like even with KO, he did very serviceable work. So I think now that was his time. Now it's time for him to experience what all Guardians experience, and that is illusionists.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think this
I
is
guess just to justify his spot here, I look
okay.
at like all the decks in front of him, and
Yeah,
I'm like, who does he beat in front of him? And I think it's like
probably just
he's
this
probably
one.
decent into Azalea,
Yeah,
and then like I think he's an underdog in every other matchup that's above him.
right.
So I think that's a justifiable spot for him.
Yeah, no, yeah, let's do it. Okay. Oh, man, if you want to talk about dark horses, this guy's really a dark horse.
Viscera. Ooh.
All right, yeah, you got the lead on this one. Where is old Vis?
Man. He didn't get a new card, right?
He did not. He almost always does too. So this might be the first one.
So many. And like, where's the Viscera card? I guess if you're just playing like standard aggressive Viscera, like Mob Sky into Shrill into Rosetta Thorn, you don't have Rosetta Thorn anymore. You have a much worse card called Reaping Blade, which no one would ever play Reaping Blade in any serious tournament.
That's kind of true. Yeah.
So I don't think that version's very good. The people have played around with this weird, OTK style deck. You build up the rune chance and you try to get them all at once.
Yeah.
It's cute. I think it's really bad into something like Enigma and New and all of these other aggressive decks. So I'm not seeing it. I think he's still a C tier hero until somebody breaks the format with him.
Yeah, okay, so check this out. So bringing up the Chalres tier list again.
Yeah.
It was very surprising from his results. And he was actually coming up right here. That's late into this. Yeah, no, it's insane. But sure enough, like when he was starting to show himself over here, you were seeing more people, or at least I was at the very least, seeing. But I saw that at the age event too, more people playing Viscerize, like just in general. So I think
playing like the more aggro or the combo version.
It's a little bit of both. I mean, there's even another version that's kind of the in between that runs like Slogism, Arknight Ascendancy. So he's kind of going a little bit build up, but not going for that
Very
OTK.
weird.
Yeah, it's a very weird build. I could see Viscera giving Enigma some trouble with the rune chance, but Enigma doesn't really have Spectra like Prism would. So I don't think that's like a benefit, I would say, like it was. Yeah. I think, I don't know, something just wants me to put him in B minus, but like he doesn't have the results at the same time, but I don't know.
He has like the historical context. Like Viscera was quite strong back when Rosetta Thorn was legal. Like he was. And like he lost that great weapon, but he still has his other power cards. He still has good turns. So
Okay, hold
You
up.
know, maybe somebody comes up with it and figures
Maybe,
out how to break them.
maybe, but I'm actually gonna put him C tier because of the next hero. The next hero
Okay.
I actually like. So,
Yeah. Vincent.
we'll put I'll
I'd
give
put
him
him.
right here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
All right. All
All
right.
right.
Vincent. I am kind of high on Vincent. Not like A tier
Okay.
high, but I'm kind
Yeah.
of B minus tier high. I kind of think Vincent could kind of fuck with all the new heroes, be fine, and just yeah, come in and I mean, from what I was asking, like Vincent players, and take that with a grain of salt, but they're out there, and they're
Yeah.
loyal. Um, they kind of like the brute matchup. It's the Guardian matchup that they didn't like. So I don't know. I'm kind of feeling Vincent a little bit.
Yeah, Vincent's got good disruption on aggression, right? You can disrupt their arsenal. You can make them discard cards. Like he's got or she's got good value on offense. Um, it was just like if they could block out and they just didn't care, like a Guardian could, then Vincent could struggle.
Yeah.
And maybe this is spoiling a bit of like my internal team testing on the Runaways, but going into Pro Tour Los Angeles, I had a teammate who was just like, "All right, I'm locking in Vincent," and then
Oh
like
boy.
8 hours later, they're like, "Vincent's horrible, never playing this deck again," and it was just like back and forth, back and forth. That happened multiple times because like when you have high highs of like, "Oh my god, this is an insane Vincent game," and then you'd have a game where you just draw non-functional hand after non-functional hand,
Oh
and
yeah,
your
the
hero
Rune
power
Blade
just makes you
problem.
discard a card. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I, Vincent did get a new card, right? Eloquent Eulogy,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is quite good and has some potential.
I agree.
I don't think it's as good as like Shadow Realm Horror, but it
Right.
seems like a solid role player for sure. I
Mm-hmm.
think you're definitely gonna play it in Vincent. So yeah, I think it's a bump up from where Vincent was, and
Yeah.
I think with good testing and a good build, you can put up some results with Vincent.
All right. All right. Cool. We like her. We like her a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, our last hero, Zen. Our last of the new heroes. Where do we see old Zen?
Yeah. I
He's hard.
maybe I'm a downer, but like I I am not yet impressed with Zen. I know it's early in the format,
Yeah.
but just like reading through the cards, looking at them, like nothing stands out to me in the way it does on Enigma and New. Would be like, wow, this is the power card that really breaks this open. Like they're
Yeah.
just kind of okay. I jump through these hoops. I attack with my staff. I get my crouching tiger, and I just do the same thing that every other hero does in terms of like raw math, raw
Mm-hmm.
efficiency. So it's hard to evaluate. Like he has some pop off turns, right? You can do Art of War and Roar of the Tiger, which I call Art of Roar. Um,
That's fun.
and yeah, like he has upside, but on face value, I think it's lower than the other two heroes. So like
Sure.
low B, high C, maybe. Maybe we put it
Okay.
in B tier just to make it nice and symmetrical
Well, you
ish.
know what I was gonna do? I was gonna put our boy Kano right
All right,
here.
all right. I'm down with this because I think Kano and C tier is a little
Yeah.
too low, but
Yeah.
I think this evens it out and like he has potential, has upside, similar to Katsu, but
Mm-hmm.
Katsu has a bit more of a robust kit that like definitely wins on big pop off turns, and I just don't know that Zen does.
Yeah, I think the big difference here, and like, yeah, we're gonna have to see how good Chi is. I think that's really gonna determine how good these new heroes are, is how often we are gonna see Chi and how like pivotal that is.
Sure.
But like, yeah, when just looking at these two, they play pretty similarly, doing a little bit different combo lines, but you could do the same combo lines with them both. It's just Katsu's hero ability can activate, turn one, turn zero, right? Whereas Zen, you're gonna need to get that chi before you're able to do his. So
Mhm.
I think that's kind of the big, like playing with zeros for Katsu isn't like really that much of a downside. So I don't think Katsu is like going to be like any. Well, I think Katsu's the best ninja currently. And then yeah, as far as between the new heroes, I agree. Like it is easy to see new. I mean, it's very easy to see where she's pushed. But Enigma is not hard to see it as well. I think in fact you would. I think we both have her kind of right here, but I think, because a lot of people have our A and S tiers, because when you first look at those cards, they do scream like, oh, this is great. But with Zen, I Chase to Tell, I think the 1 for 7 go again. That's a cool card, but I think that's kind of where it lies. I think there's not much else after that.
You look at that, and then you look at Codex of Frailty, and you're like, maybe this isn't that great. And so my like conspiracy theory here is that Zen having such a kind of similar play pattern to Katsu that you talked about. You've got combo lines, you find ways to tutor it out of your deck to do the combos. I think that LSS was printing Zen in this set on the assumption that by now Katsu would have hit Living Legend, and this was our replacement ninja.
Ooh, I like that.
Much the same as I think they thought Bravo would have hit Living Legend, and Betsy was our replacement.
Right. Is that why they call you Tin Man? Because you got these tinfoil hat theories?
Maybe. But no, that was a username I picked, much like most people pick their username when they're like 10 years old.
Oh, I know.
The Wizard of Oz. But no, I do have the tinfoil hat theory here. I think that is why I am very low on Zen and Betsy in particular.
Right.
But I think Betsy is much more of an obvious downgrade from Bravo, whereas Zen is a slight downgrade, but I think very different in a way that I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's potential.
There's definitely potential. All right. Well, this is the weirdest tier list I think I've ever done with all of them being here. But whatever, I like it. This is the way too early tier list. This is, we're wrong about half of this stuff, but I think we got a few of these things right.
Sure.
Yeah, so cool. Well, thank you very much. Do you want to? I want to do kind of a plug for you, and then I'll let you plug yourself here. But, what better time to go on to the Runaways Discord to do some drafts? Yes. I got that token card that was given out by you. Which led me right into that Discord, and I am set up. I am so ready to draft after, especially watching the world premiere. I'm foaming at the mouth. I cannot wait.
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate that. The Fabled Runaways Discord. I'm a member of Team Fabled Runaways. We've got our Discord server where we have a setup to allow you to draft practice online. We also got like a constructed queue to help play against other like-minded players who you're trying to improve. Please definitely check out the Discord, and if you find that valuable, make sure you participate in it. And we've also got a Patreon for people who are really interested in it. So
yeah,
more shout outs. But thank you so much for having me here. I really had a ton of fun doing this tier list with you.
Thank you so much for being here, and I will hopefully see you at Nats. We'll see each other in top 8 again.
That'd be awesome.
All right, cool.